I've been there before.
Yeah. We're recording.
Yeah. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Grapplers Academy. Got coached by Sai, bonafide PT.
It's fucking virtually indistinguishable, mate. You just need a ginger beard in with her.
I say Mitchell brothers, or as Nicole likes to point out, Michelin brothers.
I don't like her anymore. People who point out the truth to me. I'm not friends with them. I'm just looking for people to lie to me all the time, basically.
It's a cold winter.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get the extra layers on so that we're no longer cold during winter.
I'm just getting fat, mate. I just want to get fat. I'm not trying to make an excuse for it. I'm quite happy being. I've had a lifetime goal of being over 100 kilos, and it's fair to say I've achieved it.
Yeah.
And stayed above 100 kilos for the past 12 months, pretty much. So I'm more than happy with my achievements. It's well paid for.
Fair. Yeah.
That's quite a nice, unintended segue from what we were talking about before we started recording. I think it's right on the beginning of the recording as well.
Yeah.
Eating, turning up to training after either having had something that's upsets your stomach a little bit, or maybe some super spicy food that you don't normally eat or something like that.
Yeah. So on Sunday when I was telling you before, I saw these volcano noodles when I was in. It was the Chinese supermarket in near the centre of Manchester, and got in there, saw these noodles, and I was like, they look like something that I've seen on a food challenge. I was like, I'll get it. I can deal with spice. And to be fair, I got them, ate them, sweating like a madman eating them, and my mouth took a long time to cool down afterwards, but. To be fair, they were nice, and then the next morning woke up and it was uncomfortable, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to train today. I cannot train. So I got to Hive, stomach was not on, and then over the course of coaching the first class, I was like, everything settled down a little bit, had a bit of water, felt normal, and then got a couple of rounds in. First two went off without a hitch, and then after that it was kind of stomach felt super heavy and it didn't feel good, so I couldn't roll for much longer after that. But yeah, and you're kind of debating whether to jump off the mat mid-roll to because you don't trust anything.
I mean, yeah, I think it's probably not. Everyone's probably been there, so it's probably not that embarrassing to admit that.
Nah.
You've turned up to training one time or multiple times, and whether you just got an upset stomach or something like that, you're farting a little bit, and if somebody puts neon belly pressure on you, and a bit squeezes out or whatever, or even sometimes I find it with me, if I'm just bridging or something anything that just needs a little bit of force, and then it's oh right, I farted. But then the other times where you've got a dicky stomach and you're have I just shit? Have I farted or shit? You look at the clock, how long's left on this round?
You're running off the mat, they're doing the penguin walk.
Yeah, I've done it a couple of times to be fair. I'm farted and then gone, let's go to the bathroom. Consider it we talked about hygiene before, it's probably a common courtesy to go off the mat after you just shit yourself. I will add to that though, that I've never actually shit myself.
Yeah.
It's always just a worry of, has it happened?
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there.
Yeah. I think most people in general life have been there, going to leave the house, you're all dressed, and you're kind of going, oh no, and you break wind, and then you kind of go, I need to go to the bathroom. And you run, and it's on the skinnier teeth type of closeness.
I will say though, there's definitely a difference between that scenario and the smelly guy on the mat who just farts and then doesn't say anything, and then you go into his close guard, and then you smell it, and you're and he knows what he's done,
and then
he's waiting for you to smell it. Absolute bastard.
I think I've been that guy a couple of times before as well, especially when this is when I was competing more and cutting weight more, high protein, high veg. It's a bit of a explosive combination.
It's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. not explosive in like what we were saying before, where you absolutely keck yourself, but the smells, especially if you're you're preaching or something and you just kind of sneaks out, you kind of like going, I'm gonna wait till somebody recognises that. I won't say anything, and you sat there and they grin in your face, and then they go.
The thing is as well with jiu-jitsu, it's like all heavy breathing. So like the person's just farting and you're taking in a big deep breath because you're knackered, and it's like he fucking punches you in the back.
What's worse, someone in mount and they're sweating like a madman, and you get like droplets of the sweat in your eyes, nose, mouth, ear, like full on every hole in your face just gets sweat, or you're taking deep breaths after someone's dropped one and you're pretty much breathing their air.
For me, I think I'd rather get sweat on the basis that I'm normally the sweaty person sweating on everybody else. And there's pretty much a guarantee that if they're sweating, I'm probably sweating just as hard. So I'm probably not going to notice it. Whereas I don't often shit myself in the middle of a roll. So I'm not sat there in the smell of my own shit and then have to smell somebody's fart. So I think I'd rather go with the sweat, to be honest.
Do you know what I can imagine as well? Like someone listening to this and there's somebody coming past, like zero context, and they're like, you just hear, yeah, and I'm like, I shit myself on the mic. They go like, what are you listening to?
Would you rather be shit on or sweating? It's a different podcast altogether. Yeah, I don't know. Like, probably just a good. If you're that person that's happening quite regularly, A, either stop eating any mad stuff that's going to upset your stomach, or B, just don't wear a white gi.
Yeah, it's like, because I know I don't deal well with dairy, so I've knocked it on the head on that. I'll not eat that often at all, if any. Spicy food though, I do enjoy it, and it's kind of like it just gets more further and further apart.
You're willing to sacrifice the spicy food for the risk.
Oh, of course,
risk
yeah.
versus reward.
Well, I mean, the reward's a good meal.
I mean, especially as well as if somebody's got you in a tight submission and you just let one rip, and it's might be that last ditch defence. I'm trying to divert this topic of conversation back onto something worthwhile talking about, because like this might be a big put off or something.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't want to go to train at clubs anyway because they don't want people sweating on them, or just even like that close body contact. And now they're like, people are going to fart on me as well.
It's like, what's worse? Someone farting on you or someone coughing on you?
I mean, in current times.
In current times, it's the cough.
Yeah. At least it's been processed. It's a big thing for people. I mean, like going to a club and then like just being put off by, like maybe. I've heard a couple of women say like they don't want to train with a guy who doesn't wear like a t-shirt underneath a gi or something like that. And I mean, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
I do think though, having like a rash guard or something underneath your gi is kind of like a good thing to do. Like more so for everybody else in the room. It might feel more comfortable to not like be basically topless underneath your gi, but the rash guards are there, they hold the sweat in. They kind of, if you had a long day at work and you've only put a bit of deodorant on, they kind of keep everything condensed inside there.
I think you can't compete in a rash guard in gi though, can you? Or do you have to ask your opponent whether they're alright with it?
Yeah.
It's like some weird rules, isn't it?
I think the IBJJF you're not allowed to, but in the UAE, I think you have to.
You have to wear it.
You have to wear a rash guard. I don't know whether the rules have changed, but last time I checked, you had to wear a rash guard under your gi. I think it was because it gets broadcasted in like quite a strong Muslim country. Yeah, it's more to do with the modesty and sort of not having exposed.
To be perfectly honest, for me, from a comfort point of view, I actually prefer wearing a t-shirt or a gi underneath because, like, I'm gonna make myself sound proper soft here, but just that abrasion of the gi on your bare skin's like not super comfortable because it's like a sandpapery sort of material, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you get used to it, but I've always just preferred training with a t-shirt on underneath or a rash guard or whatever.
I also think as well, like, a lot of guys have some sort of chest hair.
Yeah.
And if you are in mount and you're trying to smother your partner, it's not really the nicest thing to be if you've got someone's chest hair smushing all over your face and you're coming away and you've got like hair between your teeth and that.
Yeah, I think that's the complaint that I've heard from most women who, like, there isn't a guy who comes into our gym regularly, but if there is a guy who comes in and he trains topless and he's got a hairy chest, they're like, I can't fucking go with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see why.
Yeah, because like, you get enough like hairs on the mat anyway, just from general training. So having that sort of in your face, you're gonna increase the likelihood of getting the little hair at the back of your throat, and you're gonna be like fucking up.
This podcast is disgusting. Isn't it?
That could be the title.
Back when I was younger, I used to have quite long hair, like down to my shoulders. Believe it or not, that would look really weird now, but you just used to get stood on all the time. Like my beard gets grabbed a lot now in the gig. But my hair would get stood on, like people would grab it when you're grappling and stuff like that. And like when you train with some guys who've got a little bit longer hair, it's like almost unavoidable. But you train with women who've got like long loose hair, you're like standing on it or you're going for something, and you can't avoid grabbing the hair. It's like you've got to grab the thing and then let go, move the hair out of the way, and then try and re-grab your grip.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard rolling with long hair.
I mean, it could help with a pin, couldn't it? Let's say you're side control and they're really scrambling, just put your knee on the hair on the floor.
Oh yeah.
You've got hands free.
That's definitely, it's uncomfortable as fuck though.
Yeah.
You got anyone with long hair at you? Any guys with long hair at the club?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah.
And to be fair to them, they do a good job of tying it up. So like, one of the lads ties it and keeps it really tight. Obviously, it comes loose with overtraining. And I don't think anybody with long hair at the club gets annoyed if the hair gets kind of caught. They kind of be like,
you can't get
comes with it,
You can't get annoyed about it. It's your own hair, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I'll usually do, it usually works against me, is like if somebody's coming in to grab the collar or something like that, if they grab my beard, I'll be like, wait a second, you can have the grip, just let me move my beard out of the way, and then let them get a re-grab.
Oh, the last thing you want is a palm full of beard and collar, and if they just rip.
Oh, it's happened plenty of times. Yeah, I always just like give them the grip that they want, like, and they get it way deeper than they would have done if they would have just got it and my beard wasn't in the way. So they've got it here, I lift my chin right up and they go, cheers, sink it in super deep. I'm like, fuck, it's fine. I was like...
Is that Mark?
Sometimes it's Mark, yeah. He probably doesn't listen to this podcast, he's just like shit about him the whole time. Although he's never farted on me, so
fair.
That's a plus.
I mean, if he pulls your beard, it's fair game for you to fart in.
I'll do that next time.
Well, yeah, it seems like a lot of places are getting the training back in full swing. You've got the Grapplefest coming up, haven't you? Europe versus Daisy Fresh.
Yeah.
That looks like it's going to be an
Good
absolutely
card,
brilliant card, yeah.
What day is that?
I believe it's in Feb at some point, or it might be March.
You
But
know?
there are, I know there's quite a few training camps going on where a lot of the European guys are trying to get together regularly to train.
Yeah.
I know Daisy Fresh are doing a training camp when they come over here. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the guys over here be put on that pedestal. Like quite a few of the lads that I train with at CAMS, HW, are on the card. Quite a few guys that we know around the northern scene have some good opponents. It's exciting to watch it. It's exciting to see the platform that Grapplefest are putting everybody on as well.
So Kev Corkill's got a match against Mikey Musameshi.
It's going to be interesting.
That's going to be an interesting match. And then just the other one, there's loads of decent matches here, but just off his recent performances, Santeri Laus has got a match against Jacob Couch.
Yeah.
That could be quite an interesting
really
match,
good match.
just based on recent form.
Yeah. It's just looking forward to seeing it, and it'd be great to, like, I think more so the exposure that the UK guys are going to get.
Yeah.
Like, he had Josh Charrington against George, I can't remember his last name.
He's on this card again, isn't he?
Yeah. It was on the last Grapple Fest where it was a great back and forth. Georgia just come back from winning the No-Gi Worlds, and it was just relentless, like just attack. And Cherrington managed to get out of some really deep submissions before he got caught, but it was a great performance from both players.
Did you, slightly off topic on that, just popped into bed, did you get a chance to watch the Cerrone and Craig Jones match?
Not yet, no. I've heard the results, but I've just struggled to watch any combat sports again recently. Because I've got my list just keeps getting bigger and bigger that I need to watch.
It was one of those ones that I kind of hoped it'd be a fun match.
Yeah.
But it went kind of exactly the way that you thought it'd do. I don't know whether, like Craig Jones, I don't know whether he just automatically tried to grab the legs a couple of times just from the way that you do by muscle memory when you're rolling. It looked like he kind of attempted to grab the legs a couple of times, and Cerrone had the right defences for most of it, but he didn't look like he was committing really hard on stuff. And it was like quite a fun exchange, and some of the stand-up, like Cerrone was like pretending to throw knees and stuff like that, just a bit of a laugh. And then he got some good takedowns actually. I don't know if it was a takedown here. It was like a trip single.
Oh, nice.
From a body lock. Oh no, I think they were like from the Whizzer, and then like a trip single.
Oh, lovely.
But yeah, it was just a good fun match. It was exactly what I hoped it'd be. Just a bit of fun and then like an obvious result at the end of it.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I saw the other week, I think he's gone. I don't know who he's fighting for, but Uberim's back in it. Yeah, jacked over. He was back in action.
Where at though?
I think it's Glory. I think he's gone to Glory kickboxing, which is amazing.
I mean, makes sense for him.
But I'm really interested to see how he comes back fighting in a kickboxing style when he changed his striking style so much from when he started in the UFC to that whole time where he kind of came off PEDs and was training at Jackson's, because he was a lot more back offish, wasn't he?
Do you think that'll be difficult for him to get back, or do you reckon his experience and kind of like, because he might still train that way, so it could be just a really simple transition for him.
I'm interested to see who they put him against, because obviously he's a big name, he's a bit older now, so it's going to be like quite a big fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think who's like maybe a bit older, or like who's a good match for him to go up against.
I reckon they'll give him sort of like a warm-up fight first, his first one, and then get him into some of the bigger names.
Yeah.
Well, I think they probably have to. I don't think they could feed him like top contenders at the moment. More so because like he's sort of getting to that retirement age, and a lot of the fighters from his era will probably still fighting, or probably still be up for the fight and the money fight, to be fair. Because I can't really think if the pay for those fights will be small.
Well, I don't know whether this has happened yet. I was like, before we were talking about who's he going to get and who's he not going to get, I was just thinking what would be the best match that you could possibly see. And I was thinking Rico Verhoeven, but it'd be completely fucking ridiculous. He's fighting Rico Verhoeven.
That'll be interesting. How old? How old's the title?
I don't know, he's got to be like 30, 32, something like that, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Maybe he's a little bit younger.
Over him, what is touching 40s?
Yeah, got to be, hasn't he?
Yeah.
32.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, a bit more mature now. I don't know whether he was still. I don't know whether Rico was around at the time when Overeem was transitioning out of kickboxing. It's over 10 years ago now, isn't it? So maybe not at that high level.
Do you think it'll be a very good match?
That is a good match, actually. It's a good style matchup.
Yeah, I just hope that Overeem sort of can go back to his old style of fighting. Like you say, he was a bit standoffish with his striking as of recently. And just speak like, because I was looking at with the news of Tyson Fury and Ngannou going back and forth on Twitter about, what was it? Tyson put a tweet out saying boxing rules, MMA gloves.
Yeah.
And then Ngannou replied being, well, how about MMA rules with boxing gloves? Now I think boxing rules, Fury wins it. Like, I don't think there's going to be much debate in that. But I also do think that MMA rules, Ngannou's going to win it just because of the extra tools that he can use.
Do you, because he's got good wrestling defence, like Ngannou's a pain to deal with now, isn't he? Because he's just got heavy hands and he's got good wrestling, so you can't really take him down.
No.
Tyson Fury's not going to try and take him down.
No.
He's not going to throw any kicks.
I think in the MMA rule set, I can see Ngannou trying to take him down to tire him out.
You think?
Yeah. Or at least pin him against the cage.
I was thinking more like cage wrestling.
But for me, it's a bit riskier for Ngannou to get him against the cage because Fury will probably be able to learn how to get off the cage and strike from the cage.
Yeah.
Whereas he's on the ground, it's going to be more exhausting for Fury to get back up.
He's already done a bit of MMA training, hasn't he, with Darren Till?
Yeah.
In the past, and he's an overweight guy, but he's very athletic.
Yeah.
And he seems to pick stuff up pretty quick, so that's quite an interesting match, actually. I think I'd rather watch an MMA match with boxing gloves on. I don't think it'd be that much of a different match from an Ngannou point of view.
No. I do think it gives Fury an easier defence in boxing gloves, because you can hide behind the gloves and block the shots.
What size did he compete 10 ounce gloves, the heavyweights?
10 or 12, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the MMA gloves are 4 ounce. If he's kind of willing to do a boxing match in MMA gloves, there's almost no reason to suggest why you wouldn't do an MMA match in MMA gloves.
I think...
Or maybe even the 7 ounce MMA gloves.
What could be worth doing is some sort of hybrid rule set. So it's kind of...
boxing sort of
yeah. Maybe allowing kicks in there, or maybe not allowing kicks in there, just so it's narrows the tools down for Fury to sort of learn. But if you take him down, you've got 10-15 seconds to work, and then maybe 20 because it gives you a bit of time to find a submission. But then if nothing happens, back to your feet, reset, and just sort of having that kind of rule set.
I would think that, not knowing the guy at all, but just based on the way that he kind of conducts himself, I think Tyson Fury would either just be like all in MMA, just the MMA rules and let's do it sort of thing, rather than trying to manipulate it, even if it is in his favour, and he's perfectly well justified to have a manipulated fight in his favour as well from the rules set. Because the rules of boxing are so much different from MMA, but I just kind of feel like he's the sort of guy who'd be like, fuck it, if we're doing MMA, let's do it.
Yeah.
Not messing around.
Because it wouldn't surprise me as well, actually, if this fight's already being talked about and they were like, let's just do the interest with a Twitter exchange. Because Ngannou's contract coming to an end in the UFC, and there's been a bit of turbulence around whether he's going to stay on signed to the UFC or whether he's going to move on, because there's been a lot of money disputes. Dana and Ngannou's manager have been vocal online with each other, and Ngannou's been vocal about it as well. So if Ngannou, the thing is, I think Ngannou's got to beat Cyril Gane, or Gane, however, I'm not sure how you say his name. This month, innit? Is it this month? 22nd?
Even if not, that fight could still happen because it's exciting.
True, but I think there'll be more excitement if Ngannou comes off a knockout of Gane.
He's not undefeated, is he?
No.
So it's not like he's taking a loss is going to be a big deal. I'm not sure how in the casual non-MMA fan scene, I don't know how popular the heavyweight division is. Could most people name a handful of heavyweights?
Yeah, I think Ngannou is probably the biggest name at the moment in heavyweights, but I think for marketing, you've got boxing heavyweight champ versus UFC heavyweight champion, and to be fair, I think that kind of money will be too hard for Dana to turn down.
Yeah, the heavyweight division is always the most exciting one back in boxing in the day for me.
Yeah,
it was like Lennox Lewis era, that golden era of heavyweight boxing. It's amazing. I'd like to see that match. I mean, it's kind of funny, isn't it, that this the McGregor Mayweather thing that happened, it was kind of a bit of a joke. Well, not a joke, but like a bit of a weird spin-off from the normal things. And now everything that's going on with Jake Paul and all these fixed.
Yeah.
Not fixed, I don't know. We were joking about this the other week, actually. I imagine he's just legit knocking people out and nobody's giving him credit for it.
Like, it would be the greatest turnaround story.
It very well could be true.
Could be, it very well could be.
But he also has talked about in the last week or the week before about trying to get an agreement with Dana that he'll do an MMA match against Masvidal. And if he does that, like, what did he say? Like, win or lose, if he does that, then Dana White's got to start paying. The gist of it is that if he does that, then Dana White's got to start paying all the roster of the MMA guys better, the UFC guys better.
Yeah, I think, and he was saying that he'd retire from boxing.
Yes, that's
if Dana White agreed to it, and he's given him a bit of a countdown timeline as well.
And which is quite interesting actually, because like at the beginning of all of this, he probably started off like quite hated to a lot of MMA fans and like calling out all these like kind of retiring or not that good of a striker MMA guys, and now he's turning around to kind of like fight the winning cause for the underpaid MMA guys.
He's been very vocal though about the MMA UFC sort of fighter contracts. I think from before the Askren fight, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna hate myself for saying this, but part of me is starting to like him that little bit more.
Yeah.
Like he's on quite a just cause for combat sports. Especially it's the guys lower on the roster that are losing out. So you've got, I think some of them will be 10 and 10 to show, 10 to win. But if you actually look at the breakdown of expenses and everything that goes along with training for a fight, travelling to the fight, and having the actual fight, they're not coming out with enough money to live on. And which is where you'll see the lower roster guys fighting 4 or 5 times a year, just to make a living, not to live a lavish lifestyle, just to make a living.
And you get Dana's argument about it, like, you know, who's bringing in the money for the pay-per-views, but when you look at the amount of money that comes in for pay-per-views versus how much actually goes out for payouts, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's millions for pay-per-view buys, and I get it, we talked about this at length before, but what the other option only is that you contract fighters and pay them an annual salary, and then say that all of your medical expenses and training expenses are covered by the UFC, like they do in NFL or whatever.
I think that definitely is worthwhile up until they reach that top 10. I think maybe have a separate agreement for top 10 fighters where it'd be like, okay, maybe you're still on salary, but you're gonna get pay-per-view shares, you maybe get certain percentage of equity within the UFC, so you get like percentage of the profits at year end and things like that. Once you break the top 10, and the higher up, the bigger your percentage.
Yeah.
But 0.1% will be enough to sort of help with those costs. But for me as well, also the sponsorship side of things, like you got away with I think it was 7,500 at the start to show and to win, but you allowed fights to have their own sponsors. So whatever money they weren't making on the fight, they were then making up on having companies advertise on their shorts, on their banners, and now that the UFC's brought on Reebok and their own sponsors, I think it's Venom now, isn't it? Fighters are getting pennies, and they're advertising this company and not getting paid for it, which for me is ridiculous. But it's the same way that every other sport's run. So you've got football, the players are going to be wearing, I think the players get a deal on their boots, so they can sort of get paid by certain companies to wear certain boots, but the branding on the football kit, that money goes to the team. basketball, the branding on all the kit other than the trainers goes to the team.
That's what I'm saying, like about giving them a salary then, because the players in traditional sports have good salaries.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, you know, let's say somebody like Ronaldo, when he moved to United, I'm sure he said, like, right, well, I want, or his agent managed to negotiate 1% on shirt sales.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Because, you know, like, when a player like him comes to a club, they probably get the transfer fee back in shirt sales in the first week.
100%. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It'll probably not change anytime soon.
No.
The sport's still young. UFC's pretty much got a monopoly on it, and they can pretty much do what they want.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Unfortunately,
it's pretty much Dana White's attitude, and he's in a position to do that.
Yeah. But I do think his time at the top's probably going to come to an end soon.
Possibly. I mean, he's only. I'm sure he's getting a lot of money for being in that position, and I'm sure he enjoys doing it. But he's probably only doing it for. He's probably more doing it for his interest in doing it now.
Yeah.
And kind of what he can set himself up for in the future than the financial reward from it. Not that the financial reward from it won't be big.
No.
But he's got enough money where he doesn't need to do it.
No.
I'm sure. Or maybe there was something in the deal where they signed over where he's like, right, you've got to stay here for X amount of years before you can retire out.
Well, as soon as people think of the UFC, they think of Dana White.
Yeah.
And if they think of Dana White, they think of the UFC. So he is part of that entity.
And that's the weird thing versus boxing, isn't it? Because he's promoter and organiser.
Yeah.
Whereas in boxing, you get like the boxing organisation and then individual promoters for the individual fighters.
Yeah.
So
certainly interesting.
Interesting. Probably never change.
No.
And long live the king.
That's it. Make sure you hit us up on all social media at the Grapplers Academy. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, drop a comment. Let us know if you've got any interesting stories from eating food before training. I'm wearing a white gi. Got the Bonafide PT, it's coached by Si, and we'll see you next week.